All right, fourth graders, today at the Computer Center, your objective is I will classify animals and plants by finding their similarities. From ELA, you already know that similarities are the way things are the same. Well, whenever you're asked to classify something, all that you're ever asked to do is group it. So on your paper, whenever you see the word classify, you circle it and write group. Whenever you see the word similarities, you circle it and you write the same. For example, all of these animals right here have one similarity in common. They're all animals. This tree, it's not an animal, so it's X'd out. It cannot be classified with the others. It cannot be in its group. So classify means to group. We can classify leaves and plants, and we can also classify animals. Leaves are most commonly classified by their shape. For example, here's a super skinny leaf. Lots of times we call that a pine. And here is a very wide leaf. Those two leaves would probably not go in the same group. For example, this question says, which of the following is the most similar to leaf 1? I know that word similar means the same. So here I'm going to look at leaf 1. I see it is wide. It has these veins going down the side. So now I look at my answer choices. A, it has 3 whole leaf sections. That's not the same as this one big wide leaf. B, it's kind of tall. C, it has 3 whole sections as well. D, kind of looks like it has the same shape. I know leaf 1 and D are similar because of their shape, so I can put them in a group. These other leaves would go in a group together as well because they are not the same shape as 1 and D. They are not wide leaves. This question is what you saw on your science MLQ yesterday. It had really crazy wording, but all I was asking you to do was to put plants in similar groups. Let's read the directions together. It says, scientists classify plants on a variety of criteria. Whew, that's super wordy. All that it means is scientists put plants in groups based on different ways. Now it says, describe the criteria you could use to classify, I now know that means group, these plants into 2 different groups. Then identify which plants would go into each of your groups. So, I'm going to scan the images. I'm going to make observations. How can I put these into 2 different groups? Well, this plant and this plant, I can't figure out how they're the same, so I'm going to keep looking. This plant and this plant, I don't see how they're the same, so I'm going to keep looking. Okay, now I'm going to look at plant 3 and plant 4. Do I see anything that's the same about them? Oh, I do. They both have flowers. Okay, now I'm going to keep looking. Plant 5, it has flowers too. So I know I can put plant 3, plant 4, and plant 5 in a group, and I'm going to call them flower plants or plants with flowers. Now, let me look at the plants that are left. Plant 1, plant 2, and plant 6. Well, they can go in a group together because they don't have flowers. My 2 groups are plants with flowers or plants without flowers. Your teachers are going to give you a second chance at that constructive response from yesterday. Here are those crazy wordy directions. It says scientists classify plants on a variety of criteria. Describe the criteria you could use to classify these plants into different groups. Then identify which plants go into each of your groups. In front of you at Computer Center, you have this exact question on your paper. Your job is to do a written response that gives your best answer. Students that score a 2 out of 2 will have their new grade and new 100% added to their report card. So make sure to try your best. I know the pictures are tiny on your paper, so make sure you look back at this screen and use the pictures. You may also rewind the video, listen to my words to make sure that you answer correctly. Press pause while you work because I'm going to keep talking. Animals can be put into different groups, just like plants. One way that we classify animals is by if they have a skeleton or not. Reach around behind your back, and I want you to touch your spine going up and down your back. That's your skeleton. It's called your backbone. Well, some animals, they have an endoskeleton. That word endo kind of sounds like inside. An endoskeleton means you have a skeleton inside your body. But some skeletons have one outside, an exoskeleton. Exo kind of sounds like exit. An outside skeleton has its skeleton or its hard covering on the outside. We can classify animals by is their skeleton on the inside, endo, or on the outside, exo. Take a look at these animals here. A fish, a dog, a chicken, a snail, and a snake. Identify the animal that has an exoskeleton. One common example of an animal with an exoskeleton is a crab. We crack crab claws, and there's the meat that tastes good that we eat on the inside. Once we get through their exoskeleton, their bones, we don't reach anymore on the inside. This is also true of crawfish. Its outer covering, its exoskeleton, is what keeps it safe, not its bones on the inside. However, we also see and eat animals that have an endoskeleton, a skeleton on the inside. Whenever you eat chicken wings, you come across a bone. Sometimes, me and my granddaddy, when we used to fish growing up, we would clean the fish together and I would see the bones. Here's the skeleton of a crocodile and also of the cow. You can see its vertebrae or its spine running down its back. The animals that you just looked at on the last screen, they all had, you can see it right here, what's called a backbone. I can see it on the cow right here. I can see it on the chicken right here. I can see it on the crocodile right here. We call backbones vertebrates. Vertebrates have a backbone, and they also have a skeleton inside their body. Remember, that's called an endoskeleton. But some animals are invertebrates. They have no backbone, and their skeleton is on the outside of their body. We already talked about the crab, but other examples are insects, spiders, snails, clams and oysters, and starfish. Most animals that you think of are vertebrates and have backbones, like mammals, your dog, your cat. But scientists often group animals by animals without a backbone and animals with a backbone. However, there are 5 different types of animals that do have a backbone. The first one that we're going to talk about today is called an amphibian. An amphibian lives a lot of their life in the water. They breathe through sometimes their gills when they're babies and their lungs when they grow up. They usually live near the water and they have wet skin, but not scales. They are cold-blooded, meaning whatever the temperature is outside, that's their temperature too. Which of these animals is also an amphibian? The second vertebrate group is a bird. Birds are warm-blooded. That means they're like us and their temperature always stays the same. Birds have feathers. Birds have a beak or a bill, and they lay eggs to have babies. Their babies hatch from these eggs. Which of these animals is a bird? The next vertebrate group is fish. Fish are cold-blooded. They're kind of like amphibians in the sense that whatever the temperature is outside or in the water, that's their temperature too. Fish lay eggs, and fish also live in the water. Fish breathe through gills. That's how we see them most of the time. Which of these animals is a fish? Ladies and gentlemen, this video is going to end because I've run out of time. Go back to Google Classroom and watch part 2.